Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I need to pull up one thing to pull up here before start. Then I'll be ready. Click that. Click my name.
While we're waiting, yellow paint. Has it ruined video games?
That's right. Let's talk about light topics here.
I actually did have a discussion with my son about that. We were just kind of shooting the crap, and I was trying to explain to him how yellow paint to me kind of just feels like the lazy way to be like, hey, this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're gonna be lazy, just give us the idiot line. Like, Dead Space already had it.
Right.
You know?
I love that in Dead Space.
Just do that for me, and it's fine. I don't need color cues, specifically yellow, in every video game to denote, hey, you can scale this. It's like, either let me scale everything or don't let me scale anything.
Right.
Like, figure it the fuck out. That was it.
Soapbox down.
Yeah. Boston is ready.
That's right. All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of That Video Game Podcast, aka TVGP. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Moonpier.
Hello.
And the Nymph.
Hello.
Two very quick plugs here before we get into the kind of show proper. Wanted to really quickly mention we have a brand new episode of TVGP's Game Club out right now for mini shoot adventures. I think Moon said it best during the episode. Do not let the shorter runtime fool you into thinking it's a bad game. If you have any PC, it can probably run mini shoot adventures. It's $15. You need to buy it and play it. Just flat out.
Cool.
And then when you go play that, it is a twin stick top-down Zelda 1 game. And it is really good. Only available on PC at the moment. Hopefully available on console soon. So that's out in the feed right now if you're listening to the audio version. The next game we're going to play is Botany Manor. That's on pretty much everything except for PlayStation platforms right now. It is on Game Pass. Go check that out. Play along with us for this next month. Very short, quick plug here for patreon.com/E1M1.
Ones and numbers.
You've heard us promote all of this before. I'm not going to talk about it this week because I'm not really in the mood. I'm sick and I'm tired, and we have some sort of unfortunate news here to talk about at the beginning of the show. That we got the news this week that unfortunately Harlow, our friend and friend of the show, has passed away recently. You've probably heard him on the Bamfcast. That over at, if you haven't listened to the Bamfcast, bmfcast.com. It's an incredible show. They just finished up their 600 episode run over there recently. We were, of course, very sad to hear of his passing. And Moon and I are going to this upcoming season will be season 30 of Critical Misses. I'm going to watch a couple of the movies he really loved. I'm going to watch 3 of them there. Thank you. Big thank you to Mackie for sending over a list of movies that we could pick from. So we're going to sort of honor him and celebrate his love of films in sort of the best way that we can. I do want to mention here, though, that hearing of anybody passing, whether you knew Harlow or not, or whether you listened to one episode of Bamcast or all 600.5 episodes of the Bamcast, it can be hard to hear that somebody you knew or friends with or listened to or whatever has passed. So we talk about it occasionally here on the show, but please, if you are struggling with news of his passing or any news like this, or you're struggling with any sort of mental health things.
Life is hard right now.
Yeah, life is hard in 2024. Please go talk to somebody that can help. There is, I don't care who tells you otherwise. The internet likes to tell lies. Taking care of your mental health is important. It doesn't make you weaker. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you anything negative. It just makes you somebody who's taking care of their health, and taking care of every part of your health, including your mental health, is important. So please go talk to somebody that can help, and make sure that you get whatever assistance you need. Even if you feel like it's too small or whatever, please go talk to somebody that can get you the assistance that you're looking for. So.
And honestly, too, if you don't have somebody to talk to, there are national 800 lines that you can call to talk to people. Mm-hmm. If you can't bring yourself to take that first step or can't find them, DM me in Discord. Mm-hmm. Like, I know all the numbers. I know how to find them. Yeah. I can get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. So please reach out and get some help if you need some help with any sort of news like this or any sort of help you might need. So, all of that being said, I'm not even going to try and segue my way out of that. Let's go.
I mean, I talked about it as well in the Critical Misses episode, but like, follow the Banffcast's foot in here. Like, they said it, like, when they talked about this, they quite rightly pointed out, tell the people that you love them.
Yeah.
Don't wait for special moments. Reach out.
Yeah. There's never a bad time to say, hey, man, you're cool. I'm happy we're friends, or etc., or I liked this thing you did. Something like that. So, yeah.
Moon hears it from me all the time, much to his dismay.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's but you do it the same way I do, in a very British way, which is less, you're wonderful, and more, how much of an a-hole I am.
Right. Right. All right.
I'm not kidding. I literally cannot wait for people to get to the final episode that we recorded for the bomb I dropped at you at the very start of that episode.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, thank you for listening. Please take care of yourselves. Let's start talking about the video games. Moon, what have you been playing this past week?
So I basically didn't play anything. Multitude of reasons. It's been a very rough week for me. Very rough week. So I really only played Starfield, and I only really played it for about 2 hours, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong. Okay, so I played Life is Strange, a little to the left, but that doesn't matter because I'm literally logging in to do the daily and then closing it down again.
Right. You played enough to clear your mind and moved on.
Right.
If my mind can be cleared, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
I play my crossword game on my phone every single day because it's always a fun mental exercise. But pretty much the only other thing I played, like real game-wise, was Mini Shoot Adventures. Check out the Game Club. Streets of Rogue. Check out the We Rogue Like It.
Yep.
And Starfield. I think Starfield is about as middle of the road as it can potentially be.
It's as workmanlike as it can be, to be the definition of the word.
Yeah, and the worst part is, like, I'm just playing it now because it's the thing that's installed. So I have a thing where if it's out of sight, it's out of mind, just like everybody does. I recently watched a little bit of Netflix, shockingly enough. I watched some videos on YouTube. I watched a Blu-ray disc for Wayward Sons, ironically enough. And I did something else. So my recent game bar on my Xbox is now turned into Starfield and a little to the left, and that's it. And because nothing else is on that page, I don't play anything else other than that, because I don't want to go into my games library and see the 6,000 games I have installed and try and figure out which to play. Well, so I don't. And instead, I just ignore it.
There's something to be said too, and I have certain games like this as well, where like I'm playing it sometimes to completion because it's the thing that's installed that I know how to play, and I don't have to go through a tutorial. I don't have to figure out a bunch of new puzzles. I can just kind of play this game that I know how to play. That's not going to tax my brain 100%. It's going to tax me enough to be like, yeah, I'm playing a game. I'm playing something I enjoy, but like, it's really not going to be super heavy lifting.
Oh, 100%. And that's literally what I'm relying on at the moment is just like, I spent so much time building this ship that I'm
Right.
just going to use this ship to see out the rest of the game. I'm in the process of doing the Ryujin missions.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I might be on the last one at this moment. Where did you guys get caught in the stealth section for this game? Because was it the Ryujin Towers?
Yes.
Like stealth section?
Yes. So there's a section where you're supposed to be stealthing through the offices, and you go through the vents, and you're supposed to be able to shut off the lights and the security
Yeah.
system, I think it was. And those I could deactivate them, and the game said that I deactivated them. And as soon as I got to the vents, it was pretty GD apparent that they did not deactivate.
He's up in the vents. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Mhm. Okay.
I do like, though, that the one exit point I had was in a bathroom.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
Yes.
all right,
That
we're
feels
doing this
appropriate.
right. Yeah.
Mhm. Harking back to the GoldenEye days, the
That's
facility specifically,
Yeah.
coming out of that vent and shooting that dude in the top of the dome.
10 out of 10.
Great moment. But so I didn't get caught for that, but that's also possibly because I had the chameleon helmet. So
Okay.
when I stand still, I get the predators like
Sheen.
optical camouflage. That's the
Right.
word I'm looking for. I get that, so anytime I started to get seen, I just stood still, and then they could literally walk up to my face and be like, "Huh, it's just a box," and then walk away.
Just a box.
So I was fine with that. I'm now like I'm at the point where I think I'm closing out the storyline. Don't like the fact that I can mind control people now.
Yeah, it's an interesting ability, but the way that they tie that into the story was sort of icky.
It
I
it
didn't
feels
mind
like Syndicate.
Yes.
Like the remake of Syndicate.
Oh, the original Syndicate had the Persuadatron
Yeah,
in it.
yeah, I haven't played that game, dude. I've only played
Oh,
the remake.
that's fair.
Dude, Syndicate was a good game. Well,
The
obviously
Biker
the original
game.
was, but the remake one
The remake
was
was
also
was a great
really
game.
good too.
Yeah, the game was really good.
Yeah, so I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm completely honest.
Hmm.
It's not ideal, we'll say.
I felt better about it, without spoiling it, I felt better about it by the end of the storyline, because I was able to use it for good, as opposed to for bad.
Spoken like a scientist.
Well, let me put it to you
Look
this
at this
way.
thing I created.
Yeah,
If only people use it for good.
that's right.
Well, say, do you like the idea of putting a bullet in somebody's head, or do you like the idea of just controlling them?
Right.
Neither. Like this feels like
That's-
Oppenheimer. That, like
Yeah.
I have
These
become
are your
death
choices.
controller of minds. Like,
Right.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Welcome
I'm
to the hive mind.
curious to hear what you think about that mission at the end, because in the middle of it, I was the same way, where I'm like, don't know about how this is going. This isn't great, but I felt better about it at the end, with how they let you
Okay.
make the choices at the end of that storyline.
Well, if I don't get the choice to completely shut this down, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
We'll circle back on
Yeah.
it in a future episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did get to the point though, because now I'm at level 82, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah,
yes,
wow, you're
thank
really
you.
cooking through that thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, sitting on a planet base that I made and just constantly creating adaptive frames to get me the XP bonus.
Right.
I think I beat that game at 25, maybe 30.
The only reason I'm doing it is because there's an achievement for it, dude. And I'm sure it's
Right.
probably a case
Oh,
of you're supposed to do New Game Plus 15,000 times to get to level 100, but I don't care enough to do that, so
Right.
who cares?
I
Especially
will
not
say
when none
I've
of my
heard-
bases carry over.
Well, I was gonna say, but besides that caveat, I did hear that there are changes to the story as you do New Game Pluses, which I think is a cool idea. But again, like you were just saying, not worth
No.
losing every single thing you've done.
Right. And it's not a 10-hour
Yeah.
game either, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spend another 60 hours rebuilding my ship. Thank you very much.
Right.
It's rough, to say the least.
Yeah.
I did finally... So I keep ending up with illegal items and I keep forgetting I have illegal items and then
Uh-huh.
jumping into systems. So I had to go to the Red Mile and get the illegal item, the jammer, for the thingio, for the scanning. So now I have shielded cargo and a jammer, so I should be good from now on,
There
but
you
I
go.
don't know. Also, the Red Mile is terrible. I hate that location.
It's
It's
not.
just
Yeah.
it's kind of meh.
Yeah.
It also becomes an issue with those illicit goods that the only places that you can go while you have that cargo are places that you cannot get rid of those goods.
So
Which is stupid.
the key thing I learned real early is if you go to the Wolf system, the Den space station it has the yellow stupid trading company there,
Yeah.
and they buy illegal goods.
But I
that-
think
the
I
Den-
angered them and they wouldn't allow me to sell them to them anymore.
That is a problem.
Or at
that's
all.
on you.
I was just following the story, man.
I was
I don't
just
even know
hanging out,
what I
man.
did to make them angry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, either way, that's my go-to. Is I find the Wolf system, I go to the Den, I sell my illicit goods, and then I go wherever else I need to. I ended up carrying 600 weapons around with me so I could get this stupid achievement for modding them all. So now I have that. So I have officially hit the point in the game where I'm literally only picking up credits and ammo because
Never have too much ammo.
I just can't anymore. I just can't deal with the constant need. I've got 300,000 credits. Something tells me I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I did have 700,000 until I upgraded my ship again.
Nice.
I don't know. It's fine. The funny thing is, I literally just hit the point with Andreja, where she's ready to make our relationship official. And become
congratulations.
partners. It's really interesting because like she comes during that conversation, she comes to you and she talks about how like, look, when the Great Serpent shows up, I am going to be beside his side as a promised one. I will live eternally in the shadow of the Great Serpent as an exalted member of the belief system.
I've been watching this YouTube channel, and they have a lot of good news about the Great Serpent, let me tell you.
Whereas you will be cast aside because you're not one of the believers. And it's like, I ain't converting to your religion. Like,
I'm not sure if I'm a big serpent guy. I don't know.
I'm not. So it just ends up being this conversation about like enjoying the time you have rather than worrying about what's going to happen come down, down the line kind of thing. So it was this really interesting, backwards and forwards. It was like maybe a 3-minute conversation, but it was an interesting look into the fact that I have chosen to be partners with the person who is the most outcast from everybody at Constellation.
Right.
Like the person who doesn't fit in anywhere really anymore at all in society.
Among the serpentless.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like it was a great conversation. I think it was a nice touch to be like someone who is as devout in their faith as they are to have that conversation with me as somebody they are interested in. And every time, I love how Andreja is so socially awkward about everything. She's not 100% equipped to deal with social situations. So hearing her talk with regular people or her conversation snippets where she jumps in on the conversations you have with NPCs. I had a guy who was trying to extort me for like 5,000 credits. I can afford it. I've got 200,000. It's fine. But Andreja jumped in and was like, I think maybe 1,000 credits is good, says my fists. And my desire to not get screwed, essentially. And the person was like, well, Ryujin would never do that to me because Ryujin are, they know a good mole is worth his place. And Tracy was like, I don't work for Ryujin. I don't work for nobody.
I don't really care,
how
man.
about we make this deal? And he's like, okay, 1,000 credits is fine. I was like, thanks, Andrisha. I didn't mind, but thanks.
Appreciate you having my back.
worth of bullets that you can have, no returns.
Yeah.
She's the most interesting character out of everybody so far.
Yeah.
And I have put my like ship command skills up enough now to like my ship can hold 9. I
Yep.
just leveled it up again, so now I can have 6 people in. So now I have everyone from constellation that I can have on my ship is on my ship.
Oh, nice.
So like I've got Sam Coe and his daughter who you can sell books to for experience, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So that's useful because you're just picking up a bunch of random books. I've got Andresia, I've got Barrett, I've got Sarah Morgan. Like they're all on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you load into the ship, it's great because you just get random snippets of conversation. And Barrett and Andresia have the best backwards and forwards. But one time Barrett was like, Andresia. And she was like, why do you say my name? That it's so annoying. Why do you like pronounce it that way? And he goes on this Barrett ramble about how it's fun to say and everything like that and trying to explain to her. And she's like, okay, thanks. Barrett. And he's like, okay, I see your point.
I hear it.
I see maybe not do that some more. And that's funny.
Yeah.
And it's great. The first time you hear it. The 50th time, not so much.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Have you guys had either of you messed with hiring the NPC crew members?
No, I never
Yes,
did.
I have 2 on my ship.
Okay. I didn't do that, but until you just started talking about having crew on there, it's like, oh, that's right. That was something we could do. Did that seem worth doing outside of the Constellation crew?
It can be because a lot of the Constellation people have specialties in whatever fields they have. Like I have Sam on my ship, but he's not really useful as a ship-like person because all of his stuff are like, gun-related things.
Yeah.
So none of his abilities really transfer onto the ship, quote-unquote. Whereas you can get the NPC who's like increases your jump distance, which stacks with yours too, I believe. So then if you put them on the ship, then it makes a huge difference to like fuel economy and things like that. So it can be super useful, especially considering you just pay them once and then they just live on your ship forever.
Oh, wow.
I may have made a small mistake.
Okay.
The adoring fan is on my crew.
Oh, no.
So I may need to unassign him because I'm just like the Barrett and Andresia conversation. I'm getting a little tired of hearing, I'm literally following in your footsteps right now.
Right.
Every time I get back onto the ship.
There's a pretty good manufacturing planet that you run that could use a supervisor.
Yeah, I just need to go there and build a hub is the problem, because currently it doesn't have a hub. Currently it is a bunch of refineries leading to boxes, a workbench, and a bed next to the workbench in space. In open space, there is a bed.
He's got a suit. It's fine.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, but he won't go there until I build a hub is the problem.
Man.
I can go there. And
Millennials, am I right?
Well, he won't do it because he doesn't want to live inside of a spacesuit. I don't know. Starfield is what it is. Right now, it's just this thing I'm using to not think, ideally.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I've been playing, really. Nimb,
All right.
take it away.
Pharaoh and I have finally started playing Remnant 2.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused on how this game actually starts. I kept with my handler class that I had started forever ago that I talked about on the show. But when I started, there was the area that you had to get through before you could do co-op. You make it to the main base camp, whatever you want to call it. And then my next world that I got to do, excuse me, was in like this vacant, desolate planet that had like spirits or stuff in it and some machines.
Okay. Is it like the gray area that has like purple smoke?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
When Pharaoh apparently started theirs, they went to the church.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if the starting areas have changed every time you play it, or if Pharaoh ended up going just a little bit further and then got to the church.
Part of what I have a problem with Remnant 2. And a part of it is confusing because you go back to that like gray, desolate area a number of times, and it seems to be the area you're going to when you're going from one large area that ends in a boss, like one big dungeon to another. You're kind of traversing this area, but it never looks different, so it always feels like I'm kind of in the wrong place constantly until I get to a new area and I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm in the right place. But like, I get that what they were going for, but it never. I always had the experience you're having right now, which is like, wait, where am I doing?
So it's more of a pathways place than an actual destination.
It seemed like it. Either that, or I was just playing this game wrong constantly.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, we are in the church area, and we were doing fine until we got we got to a point where it was an ambush. Basically, we cleared out a section, and we continued to just clear all the halls and stuff like that, just to see what there was to get. And then all of a sudden, like, enemies just started coming from everywhere, in front, behind, sides, all of that. So I start running back, and then all of a sudden, like, something with a health bar shows up.
Okay, that's bad.
We did not catch the name because there was just so much chaos going on, but this thing was shooting, like, glitchy cubes, like, everywhere, and they phased through the walls and continue through the map.
Oh.
And eventually, it was shooting so many cubes that even though I was getting further away from it, I didn't have anywhere to go because these cubes were just everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And I saw the thing, and it was like a red, glitchy outline of a person.
Huh.
But I tried shooting it a couple times. It didn't do anything. I'm like, all right, I'm out. Run.
That's right. Get to the next area. We're out of here.
But Pharaoh got taken out, and then I eventually got taken out just because I couldn't go anywhere that I wasn't getting hit by stuff. And it seems like it was just a random in-game encounter because we went back to the area. We got ambushed again, but we knew about it this time now, so we backed out. But the other boss thing never showed back up.
Huh.
So I'm assuming it was like a one-off encounter that we just missed out on, which is fine because, like I said, I wasn't doing any damage, so I doubt we would have been able to take it out.
Right.
But as we continue to play this, I am still thinking they've changed the control schemes since the first game because I'm trying to like heal and do things that are not computing in this game.
Right.
And so it's taking a minute for us to get together. Like there was a conversation about how did you get a flashlight? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, don't we all just have a flashlight? And I go in my inventory. I'm like, yeah, it shows a flashlight right there. And she's like, well, I don't have it. And then she does find it. She's like, well, how do I turn it on? I'm like, why are you asking me these questions? I don't even know why mine's on. So then we had to look at the control scheme and see. It was like, oh, okay, if you push up on the D-pad, that turns on your flashlight. It's like, all right, cool. I am still getting used to the modifiers for the controllers because a lot of your skills, you have to hold down your left bumper, and then it changes all the face buttons to whatever skills.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot to get used to because I was trying to figure out, like, my dog has abilities where I have to hold down the right bumper, but if I'm not holding down the left bumper to change that to a modifier to then hold down the right bumper, it's not doing the skill that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole thing where it's like this whole thing is just really odd. It's not bad. It's just we're coming from it from the first game, so we're used to how the controls used to be. So now we have to rewire our brains for all of this stuff.
I had the same problem with the dog class because I picked that as well, and it's a lot of like I want to go have my dog attack somebody, so I have to hold down the left bumper to then hold down the right bumper to then push another button. And it's like, we had this stuff figured out on the 360 generation. Like, you need to figure out a different way to have, like, all of these skills available at one point. Because it feels like there's just too many things available to you at once, especially once you start getting two classes at the same time. There's just... On a controller, there's just so much stuff.
And I think that's the problem, was that because this game is also available on PC, on PC it's fine.
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of keys there. You're fine.
Yeah. but they didn't fully think through how it's going to work on a controller with 16 buttons on it, or whatever.
Right.
So,
and like it's tough because it normally wouldn't be a problem, but I feel like the first game had it figured out.
yes.
And they put more stuff in this game, so it feels like they just kind of had to overturn the apple cart a little bit here, and it's weird because we did the same thing. We kind of played Remnant 1 and 2 back to back. Going from 1 felt good, and going to 2 is a lot of like, how do I even shoot this gun? What am I doing in this game?
Yep, there was a lot of activating the modifier on my weapon by accident.
Yep.
And then, of course, some of them you can't cancel out of, so you have to let the modifier run out so that way you can refill it.
There's some of them where I'm like, hi, I pushed the button and a fire tornado is coming at you guys, and there's friendly fire. Good luck, bye.
Yep. But yeah, so then I'm trying to figure out all the stuff with my dog, because I didn't play a whole lot, so I just did enough to start it. I could get to the co-op. I played a couple online, to help a couple people online, just kind of screw around with it. But now that I'm actually playing it, like towards the end of the night when we were getting done, I was telling her, like, all right, I'm going to bed. Like, we discovered a whole new area. This is going to be a big exploration thing. I need to go to sleep right now.
That's the time to quit.
But while we're doing that, like, that's when we sat there and just started talking about, it's like, okay, controller schemes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how do I do this one thing? Like, I have this skill. How do I do this? And then I start reading what the dog actually does for support. And I unlocked I think by default you have the defender perk, and I just unlocked the attacker perk.
Right.
And like the defender perk is like if you hold down, the LB and the RB, the dog will do its howl attack. And what this does is it basically, the dog aggroes everything. Everyone within like 20 meters takes less damage. This, that, and the other thing. Like, okay, cool, that's really helpful. And then I'm reading like the different skills and perks just for the handler class. And I'm like, oh wow, this would have been good to have known about
like 5 hours ago.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting here reading this, and Faye was like, I thought you were going to sleep. I was like, I am. I'm reading all of this now.
I'm getting to know my skills.
And then we start to get into like, okay, now if I switch this over to attacker, we start to do more damage and cause all this other stuff. And like, okay, that's really cool, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed, because like I'm already like 15 minutes into saying I was going to sleep, and I haven't done it yet.
Right.
So that's where we're at with that stuff. But through the church, I found a kind of hidden passage that was in an elevator that was going up. We cleared out an area and went back to the elevator, went through that cave, and that's where we found the Fae goddess of the area. I was like, okay, that's really cool. We get a mission from her. We end up in like a Fae kingdom thing where it's like these people are sitting on like these 3 pedestals, like above this lake thing. And Pharaoh is talking to them. And 2 things. One, when somebody is talking to an NPC in the game, you do not get the subtitles for that at all. In fact, you don't even hear the whole conversation of what's happening. Okay. So Pharaoh is sitting here having a full-on conversation, thinking I can hear and see what's happening. I'm like, no, I see
what
you guys
talking about
over
there.
Yeah, which was not the case in the last game.
Right.
The last game, you got to vote on, okay, how do you want to answer this question, kind of thing.
Right.
It's like completely devoid of that.
Yeah, I liked that system in the first game where you all kind of decided together, or at least people got to vote, and then the party leader would make the final choice.
Say whoever's hosting the match has final say, but you can all say, oh no, I want to do this, whatever. I don't care either way. I'm like, it's we're doing your game. You pick whatever you want to pick, and I'll just go with it.
Right.
While she is talking to them, I'm looking at the lake, and I can see it's reflective, but it's not reflecting right. As I'm trying to look down, I hop over the rail by accident, and I just start yelling. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm dead, because I assumed I was jumping into water or some sort of void or something. Nope. I'm just standing on, we just assumed it was a mirror at some point. Okay. I'm like, okay, this is cool. So then I go exploring all the things, and I see this other stuff, and I'm like, this looks like it's going to be a puzzle. So I take a screenshot of it, because I'm like, I don't want to figure this out right now, but I'm sure we're going to need this picture here in a little bit.
Yep.
And sure enough, once she gets done talking to the council or whatever they were, We get told, hey, we have to go do this thing for to help a king. Go to this area. There's a mirror. We go through the mirror, and we're in the Mirrorverse, and blah blah blah. Which brings us back to the same chambers that we were just in with the council, but now it's flipped. And then we see that, okay, they have these glowy icons that when we were on the other side, it was like, this has to be a puzzle. And now that we're on the other side, we can interact with those. I'm like, okay, I know what we can do now. And so we knock that out, open the doors, continue on our way. At some point, we are supposed to be getting an item, or not supposed to be getting an item, but there is an item on a ledge. And we are trying to figure out how to jump up onto this ledge so that we can climb up it and get over to the item. We could not figure out how to do it for the longest time, and then all of a sudden one time when I was jumping towards it, my character just grabbed it and went up, and I was like, what the heck is this? Like, what did I do differently from last time? I grabbed the item, jumped down, and her and I do the jump a couple more times to be like, what did we do differently? And it turns out for you to grab a ledge, you have to hold down the jump button while you're in the air, and they will grab the ledge. They will not automatically grab a ledge.
Boy, you know what? I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, it's like just us doing, it's like baby's first video game all over again.
Yeah,
like, how do you shoot? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So we get all that figured out. We find, which earlier in the video that you have up, there was a jester that was dancing on a pile of bones. Feyror starts talking to this thing, accidentally shoots it, which luckily that doesn't do anything to it. And then it gave a quill. And now we're doing this Harry Potter thing of like, there's like these little etches on the walls, and with the quill we can now turn it into like an elf door with like all the leafing and stuff, and now it's a doorway that we can go through. And so now we're messing around with that crap.
Remnant
Find a shortcut.
It was wild, man.
It is. It is fun, despite my complaints about it. It's been a lot of fun.
But also, like, talking about it sounds like one of those
crazy
fake video games on NCIS where it's like, I drew a magic quill on the wall and went to the elf realm. It's like, sure you did, buddy.
Yeah. But while we're in this library, Feyror goes down. And she went down beforehand. I revived her, got an achievement for it. This time she went down again, and we were getting swarmed, and I'm backing up. And luckily in this game, you can move while you're downed.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sitting there telling her, it's like, okay, I'm going back into the doorway. That way all this flying stuff has to come down this tight little corridor. That way I can just keep shooting through it without getting swarmed. You come in here. I'll try to revive you. I've got the dog trying to help out as well. I go through. Reviving is still just as fickle as it is in the first game.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm standing there, I'm holding down X, and the game's like, what, reload? Like, no.
Oh, yeah, the bullets.
Yeah. Start holding down X again. Nothing. Hold down X. Oh, the thing starts to, the bar starts to fill. Oh, I got hit by an enemy. So now I have to do it all over again.
Right.
And I finally get her back up, and I have, like, little bit of health. And we are still getting swarmed, and I'm sitting there trying to take these people out, and Feyror betrays me. Or at least she attempted to. I'm just too good. Because I can't heal because there's so many things running at us. So I'm just still shooting down this hallway, and I finally clear everything out. And I did not notice that not only was Feyror hiding behind me the entire time, she apparently was not shooting the entire time because she wanted me to go down so she could get the achievement for reviving me.
Of course.
You suck so hard right now. You know how difficult that was?
So good.
It's like, and also, too, all she had to do was say, hey, can you go down so I can get the... Yeah,
hey,
fine.
Can I shoot you for a minute?
I don't care. But instead, now, I'm just like, well, now I'm going to do my hardest to never die.
Yeah,
so that way you never get the achievement off of me.
That's right.
So, but besides the little plaything that we were messing with, I also found out, too, that my dog, can also revive you. And I can send it to revive other people as well, as long as they have dragon hearts, because it uses theirs instead of mine. It's like, okay, cool. That's a cool thing to try out the next time we play. So this is something to look forward to. But yeah, it's just us screwing around again, just being way over our heads trying to remember how things work.
Yeah.
So, but it's a blast. I'm having a ton of fun with it, and I'm glad so far that it's pretty much the same kind of game. Just newer, you know?
Right.
So, my next game, and this one's going to be quick, Disgaea 7. I have completed the story mode.
Oh, nice.
Because all of my video game time this week was me just grinding. I did another stupid thing where I got to a new chapter, and I'm like, all right, cool. The last chapter I was in, everything was level 50, so everything should be level 60 now. I'm just going to grind to level 70 just to do it.
Yep.
And then I get into it, get everyone up there. I get to the next chapter. Everyone is still like level 45.
Okay.
So I'm like, now I'm just walking through the story missions. I'm like, I did not intend to do this, but since I am here, I guess this is what we're doing. And there's levels aren't everything in this game. Yes, it increases your stats, but I have not reincarnated. I don't mess with any of that stuff until I've beaten the game, because that's all post-game stuff. It's all stuff that once you've reincarnated, it changes how your base stats increase every time you level up, and there's certain ways to finagle that to get the most out of it. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares except for me and the rest of the Disgaea
RPG stats.
Yeah. But because I've leveled up so high, though, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm 100% just walking through missions, because if I don't have the equipment to back it up, you know, it's like, yeah, my stats are higher, but I'm not doing like gobs of damage. So I have to mess with the market so that way I can get better equipment in the shop. And doing it the American way, I have bribed the Dark Assembly. I have killed Dark Assembly members. I have paid off other Dark Assembly members with weapons and items and stuff. So I eventually got it so that a lot of the Dark Assembly is pretty positive on my requests whenever I submit anything.
They're big fans of you.
Yeah. So that allowed me to unlock a lot of stuff, and they've added a ton of systems in here, especially with like the in regards to items. Items are almost their own character now. And what I mean by that is, through the item world, you could always go through, and the item world is you pick an item, you warp into it. It has its randomly generated maps. In the old days, you could get screwed by it being so randomly generated that you just couldn't complete that item because there wasn't a way out. That's how random they used to be. Now they're always random, but there's always a way to continue on. There's no,
that's good.
As far as I'm aware, there's no way to get screwed. They changed that like a couple games ago. But every time you go down a level, it increases the level of the item, which means it increases whatever stats it has. And then you've got like the innocence that you can mess with, which again, I'm not going to get into because only us Disgaea nerds care.
Right.
But they have now allowed it so that way you can gain item points by trading in items, and then you can increase the individual stats of that item. There is also the ability to reincarnate items. I thought it was exactly the same as how you reincarnate a character, which means you get to you get to a certain level, you reincarnate, it resets you to 1, but your base stats is increased from, I guess, like the vanilla version of your characters. That is not how it's right now. Without reading anything, just kind of poking around and messing with it in a game, that does not seem to be how this works. When you try to reincarnate an item, it randomly generates 3 different items it can turn into.
Oh my.
And I have no clue why or how, because one of them, I was just testing it out, and I was seeing, because it takes like 10,000 item points, which is not difficult to get at the stage I'm at, and it went from, it was an Imperial Seal, which increases every stat for your character when you equip it. When I go to reincarnate it, I can choose to turn it into a belt, a spear, and a cheeseburger.
Okay.
And the cheeseburger had the highest stats out of the other 2 things I could have picked.
Of course.
So I'm like, huh. Okay. So if I reincarnate the cheeseburger, does that turn it into something else, or does it turn it back? And this is science I haven't messed with yet.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I will need to do more research on that in the future. But There are 2 bosses in this game where I could not deal damage to them whatsoever. And it wasn't an issue of them being a higher level, because at this point my characters are like 200 and something, because like I said, all I did was grind this week. That is my way of mentally checking out when I get home. Is just keep grinding. So I'm looking at the stats. I'm like, okay, we're pretty comparable in stats. I have higher attack. Their defense, like my attack's like 6,000. Their defense is 4,000. I should still be doing at least a couple hundred at the bare minimum. So why am I not doing any damage with anybody against this boss? Couldn't figure it out. And finally I realized I could pull up the stats of enemies while you're in a fight.
Oh.
So I pull up their stats and I'm looking at it. Okay, everything looks normal here. I switch over to their evilties, which is basically like a passive skill that you can equip on characters. And the boss has a unique evilty that whenever they're standing on certain panels, they have infinite health. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
So all you have to do is just move your character over there, pick up the boss, throw them off of those panels, and you start doing damage like normal.
I love Disgaea so much.
25 minutes of trying to figure out what is going on with this game right now. And I'm trying like different things. I'm trying forward, backwards, side attacks. I'm trying different kinds of magic and elements and stuff, different weapon attacks. Like I am running the gauntlet of what is this thing weak to? And then I find that out and I was like, man,
Disgaea, come on.
So when it went to happen a second time, I'm like, I know exactly what to do. And sure shot, just one shot at that boss, no problem.
Nice.
So now I am done with the story. So now there's all this other, post-game stuff that is opened up now since I've completed it. I got to go through and start unlocking that. There's like the Land of Chaos, and obviously there's Ball, which has been in Disgaea since 1. Which is like the ultimate quote-unquote hidden secret boss thingy. And I started reading, because Ball is always the most difficult thing to fight in the games, and it changes each game on how much damage, how much DPS you need to effectively take Ball out. And in this game, I'm reading posts about people who are like, yeah, I'm doing like 16 billion points of damage, and Ball is just wiping my party out, and I'm like barely doing anything to it. I'm like, oh my god, this has got to be. How much health does this one have? And I haven't even looked it up yet. I don't want to, but I know at some point its HP tipped over trillions.
Oh boy!
In either 5 or 6. So
ridiculous. I love it.
We're playing with such huge numbers at this point where it's like I don't even know where the decimal point goes on some of these numbers.
That's right.
But we're at the part of Disgaea that I enjoy, and that's just okay, now that you've beaten the story, go crunch some numbers and figure things out, So I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. But that's all I've been doing is just grinding. I did mess with Poltergeist stuff more. And I found out that caps out at 300, which I vaguely think I brought that up last time and kind of forgot it and then remembered it when I'm like, why am I not getting more of this? So then I did a whole grinding thing of just letting that go. And I had to bribe. That's what started my whole trek of bribing Dark Assembly members, was because I had like a 17% chance of doing like the instant auto battle where I just tell it to do it and it just... a little printy shows up that says, hold your horses, dude, and it's calculating how the match
and then
run.
It just like gives you the results screen.
Yeah, and then it just spits out, hey, this is everyone that leveled up, this is all the equipment that you got. Right. Here you go. You want to do it again?
Right.
So I had to eventually get that set up so I could finally get that as well. But yeah, I love these games. They're just so stupid. But that's all I've been playing this week.
All right. I've got 2 kind of quick ones here. First up, 'tis the season. It's time for Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta. Back yet again. I
think I was watching this group streaming yesterday.
This isn't. I can pull up this year's run. I can show it on video here for people that haven't seen the run yet. I liked, so for anyone that hasn't seen it, there's a run called The Run, that happens with a set of jobs that everybody votes for by donating to whatever cause. RK, Revenant Kyoku, is the guy that runs it. He sets a fund up every year, and you donate to it. And usually it's like a race to mess with the speedrunners that are going to run the game. This year's run was pretty good. The first person to clear it cleared it in like 7 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Which was like an hour or so faster than all the other people. So I'm not entirely sure how they did that, but that was fascinating to watch. But the Fiesta has started. It starts properly as soon as the run is over. So I got the jobs from my very first run. I'm doing a Typhoon run, which is, I usually do Typhoon or Meteor, I think is the other one. Typhoon is essentially when you unlock your first job, you get the wind job, and then when you unlock your future crystals, it essentially rolls all of your jobs from basically every available job you can get. I also did Berserker Risk, because you can only do that during the pre-registration thing. I did not get any Berserkers this year. My first run here is Blue Mage, Monk, Ninja, and Geomancer, which is fine. It's a strong group, but I'm kind of over having some of these classes. Monk is exceptionally bad in Final Fantasy V too. Like, it's really good in the first world, but after that, it's largely like an item user. So this will be fun. I started my run this morning. Things are kind of progressing nicely, but nothing to super report yet. So we'll see how long this first run takes me to go through. I close all these windows. I did start, and I'm way deep into Citizen Sleeper. I played this originally on the Xbox when it came out. It's been on PS5 for a while, and I think PS4. And the team has been going out there and promoting Citizen Sleeper 2 a lot lately. And I said, all right, now's probably a good time for me to... I need something totally different, especially after finishing Mini Shoot Adventures. I thought, let's try and play something totally different here. And I thought, well, let me try to go for the Platinum, because I got pretty close last time. And I'd like to see... They came out with, I think it was 3 additional... I think they call them episodes that happen after the end game. I'm hoping to go through those and play those now that I remember how to play Citizen Sleeper. Because that was... The problem originally was... I hopped back into play and I was like, oh yeah, the dice and the tabletop RPG, right. How do I... Well, yeah, I gotta use stabilizer to stop my body from dying. Yeah, okay, yeah, Citizen Sleeper. So I'm hoping to go through those 3 episodes here because from what I remember, they're supposed to lead directly into Citizen Sleeper 2. Because the second one takes place with a totally different sleeper in a totally different area. So I'm curious to see how this kind of directly relates to that. I think I'm ending my first run of this, and I have all but a handful of trophies, largely because I forgot, this isn't really a spoiler, but the Lem and Mina storyline, the father and daughter one, I forgot how many different variations there are to the ending of that. And there's, I think, like 5 trophies that you have to do this, but not do that, and then not do this and do this other thing. And there was one I didn't even know you could do where you basically get an item, and then when Lem asks about it, you like deny it a couple of times, and then you can just go do something by yourself, which gets a totally different trophy. So I think I'm gonna have to do at least 1 or 2 more runs that are specifically for those trophies. which I'm kind of excited about because had I not looked the trophies up, I don't think I would have known those were even options. But again, Citizen Sleeper is really good. It is, if you weren't listening to the show when we talked about it originally, it's a dice rolling tabletop RPG that takes place in the Eye, which is a kind of circular space station, and you're and they call it like an emulated mind. You're essentially a copy of a rich person that escaped and is trying to find its way on the Eye. And I'm basically taking the approach that I took last time I played this, which was the endings that I'm going to choose, because you get all these essentially different options. And a lot of them are like, do you want to leave the Eye with this person or this group or these people? Or do you want to stay and make the Eye your home? And my choice at the end of the day is still, I'm going to live in this cool place where I have all this like found family and this community that you build up through these different quests and stuff. So
I do want to say that the game does a really good job with scarcity.
Yes.
Because it always feels like you were just one bad roll from being completely screwed.
Yep. and on the other side of that, and I still see people saying this as a negative, but I like how you're really like scraping and scavenging at the beginning of the game for like, all right, I need to get the synthetic medicine in me to keep my body going. And as a side effect in the game, if your body starts to decay, you get less available dice to roll at the beginning of each day. So it's easy for you to get in this kind of negative cycle of being in more and more trouble. But I like at the end of the game, or at least kind of at that halfway point, you have enough connections, you have enough skills that you've upgraded, you have enough stuff to your name that you can way more easily get that medicine you need, get the energy you need, spend a little bit of money to make some of your stuff easier. And I like, from like a narrative standpoint, the more you get settled into the Eye, the easier it is to survive in the Eye itself.
Yeah.
And I still see people complain like, "Oh, the end of the game is so easy. You have hundreds of credits and you got all this stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, because
that's the point.
It's like that's the story. Like that you're settled in. You found this support system. You have multiple jobs. You have multiple groups of friends, and like everybody is." It's the human part of Cyberpunk that I like, which is everybody is helping each other out, because at the end of the day, the corporations don't have your back, the government doesn't have your back, society has your back because it's you and other people taking care of each other. And I think this game, from a storyline perspective and having that hand in hand with the gameplay, I think that works out really, really well. So I'm super excited for Citizen Sleeper 2, because I think that's coming out fall of this year, if I remember correctly. And it's coming out on all platforms at launch, which is great. So Citizen Sleeper is great. If you haven't played it and you're not allergic to reading, which, I mean, hopefully you're not, because books are great, you should really check out Citizen Sleeper. And it's not super long. I think even kind of knowing what to do and, reading every piece of text that's in this game, I think it's only like 8 to 10 hours. So it's nothing super great. Super cool style, great writing, incredible soundtrack. It's really, please go try Citizen Sleeper. It's really great. My last game here this week, Destiny 2, Episode 1 Echoes came out this week. So this is kind of dealing with the after effects of the Final Shape finishing. When the Final Shape finished, a bunch of stuff got scattered throughout the solar system. And the first one that landed here on Nessus, and the people in the game are essentially calling them echoes. And the very first one landed in Nessus, essentially like punched through the crust of the planet and we're largely trying to figure out, number one, what is it, and then number two, why do the Vex, the enemies that are the big robots, why are they really interested in capturing it? We don't know any of those answers yet because this is just the first week of it, and episodes are different from seasons because Bungie was saying that making 4 seasons a year, one every 3 months, was pretty taxing for the team, which is understandable because that's a lot of stuff to make for these seasons. So they're taking the approach with episodes where you get 3 a year, one every 4 months, but then they kind of, throughout those 4 months, they unlock over time. So there are 3 acts that unfold over the first episode, and the same thing will happen with us episode 2 and 3. So really curious to see how that goes, because looking at the triumphs in game, which are the in-game achievements, it seems like more activities and more armor and weapons will be available as the weeks go on, or as the episode goes on. So when Act 2 unlocks, it looks like they'll have 2 new sets of 2 weapons available, and same thing with Act 3. Additional levels in the episode pass will be available. Right now we have ranks 1 to 100, and there will be 50 additional ranks every time that we get a new act. So curious to see how kind of all of that stuff shakes out over the next couple of months here. But so far it seems largely similar to how seasons worked, which definitely isn't a bad thing, because that's a pretty solid system overall. The seasonal activity right now, it's arena something, I don't remember, largely seems like what we would get in a season as well. So nothing really reinventing the mold here so far, but I'm happy with that because we're coming off of Final Shape, which was really strong, and trying to give the team at Bungie a little bit more breathing room, which I appreciate. Did, however, continuing to unlock more stuff at the end of the Final Shape, kind of the post-game stuff. I have finally unlocked the legendary and exotic versions of Kvostov, which is the very first gun you pick up at the very beginning of Destiny 1. It's that
AK-74 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's like the Kvostov KV-0 or whatever it was originally. It's a pretty complicated unlock process in this one, which wasn't very hard. It was just a lot of like, you're kind of doing things all across the Pale Heart and finding a bunch of secrets and kind of interacting with a lot of different stuff in the game. The legendary one is interesting because it's a lot of you look at the gun, and each column for perks has a bunch of different options, kind of like how they did the exotic version in Destiny 1, where you can kind of, not using crafting, but you can kind of specify how you want this gun to behave. That's not how the exotic version works this time. Exotic version is really interesting. It's really strong. I was not expecting it to be as strong as it is. But the exotic version, with every 7 shots, the bullet will ricochet up to 7 targets. So,
cool.
I also thought that was really cool until I fired it, and that ricochet bullet does way more damage than it really should. Like, that gun is...
So it's super cool.
It's really good and really strong. And what's interesting is you power up the gun by picking up the orbs of power, those little glowing balls that drop from enemies when you like use abilities or use your super or stuff like that. That ricocheting bullet bounces more times and does more damage. So it kind of powers up in an interesting loop of, do what you're normally doing and buff it and make it stronger. But that gun also has something called shoot to loot, which originally was a perk where if you see ammo on the ground, you can shoot the ammo, and at a distance, it will pick it up for you. They changed it a while ago that also applies to orbs of power on the ground. So you can use this gun to shoot the orbs of power that power up the gun at a distance. So the gun is incredibly strong. It's I think they got the power of it. I think they nailed it, because a lot of times you play games and you go through all this trouble and you go through all this difficulty of unlocking this thing, and then it kind of sucks. And you're like, oh, well, glad I spent all this time unlocking this kind of trash weapon. And that's definitely not the case for this. So that's been fun. We didn't talk in the episode last week about Ergo Sum, which is the new exotic sword in the Pale Heart. You can get from a bunch of different sources every week. But essentially, I don't know if we talked about this when it happened. There was a quote-unquote event that happened in Destiny 2 a couple of months ago called the Craftening, which there was a bug in the game that you could essentially mush two different types of weapons together. So essentially, you could take an auto rifle and have it shoot grenade launcher rounds. So you're shooting like 70 grenade launcher rounds as things are going. You can have a shotgun that's shooting out 10 different rocket shots all at once. So that was a pretty wild time, but Bungie took inspiration from that to make this weapon, and essentially it can roll a bunch of different elements and frames and stuff. That stuff doesn't really matter, but it can also roll effects from other exotic weapons. Like, I have one that can do Wolfpack rounds from Galahorn, so myself and anybody else that's using a sword in my fire team can have Wolfpack rounds come out of their sword when we're all using swords. There's like a Telesto one. There's a whole bunch of different options. So it's been kind of fun. It's been kind of fun to get a exotic to drop and have a lot of this, like all of the features of it be random on it, and kind of being like, all right, what kind of random nightmare that's overpowered do I have on this one? So that's been pretty fun. Last thing I want to talk about this week is the new exotic mission that launched this week called Dual Destiny. This part of the lead up to the final shape was Bungie saying, all right, we're going to do exotic class items again, like they did in Destiny 1. But this time, they're going to have 2 exotic perks on them, and those perks are going to have benefits from exotics, and maybe exotics that aren't tied to your class. So maybe they're going to be perks that you're playing as a hunter, and maybe they'll be Titan exotic perks. So a really kind of interesting, and you can only equip them when you're using Prismatic. So it's kind of an extension of the Prismatic thing of, I'm taking all these different pieces from all these different places and smushing them together. People eventually found that if you do, let's say, 3 of the kind of overarching public events in the Pale Heart, do something special after all of those, you get access to this mission. A little bit bummed at the Destiny community overall, because this mission is pretty different, where it's called Dual Destiny. It's only available for 2 players. It is not available solo or 3 or 4. It is just for 2 players. Pretty bummed at the community reaction to people not running this thing and yelling at Bungie and saying like, oh, well, thanks for screwing over solo players here, Bungie, yada yada yada. That's pretty. I like don't have the patience for that this week. That's kind of a bummer for the same community that is continually looking for Bungie to do new and interesting things, and then yells at them for doing new and interesting things.
Yeah, I was gonna say the platforms that you're using to yell at them, you could be using to reach out to some other person that also hates
Right.
this idea, so that you guys could run duos and complete this mission.
Well, and there's also the in-game Fireteam Finder, where you can find other people that want to do this specific thing. So, like, I also want to say, I do know that I am coming from a place of privilege. I am a 42-year-old white nerd that sounds like a 42-year-old white nerd. So if I'm on voice chat with someone else, I'm probably not going to get abused in the same way that a woman might, or a person of color might, or somebody that sounds different. So I understand, and I recognize that I am coming from a place of privilege. But the majority of people in the Destiny community want to finish content that you want to do, and most of them are not going to be terrible. It's been kind of sad to see a lot of people. I'll put my soapbox away here in a second, I promise. But it's been really sad to see people saying, like, I have extreme social anxiety, and I'm never going to play any of this other stuff with other people. And that's fine if you do, but, like, you can't hide behind something that is a legitimate problem for a lot of people when you just don't want to play with other people, you just want to play solo. Just say you want to play solo. That's fine. I do too. I'm playing 99% of this game solo. So, like, that's fine. But, you know, don't co-opt a real problem just to say, I'd rather do this solo. That's fine. I'd rather do it solo too, but I would have it done by this point. Anyways.
But if you are a non-42-year-old white male who does worry about that, reach out to somebody in our community. Like, that's anyone who's playing Destiny in our community, willing to help out. You don't even need a mic, probably.
And also, well, we'll talk about it. You absolutely need a mic for this.
Oh, sorry, but, like, I lied.
But one of the things, too, is there's an incredible community that's run in the Destiny community called D2 Sanctuary. And they run a Discord server that is specifically aimed at people that do have anxiety, or they can't use a mic, or they can't use a keyboard, or they need to use assistive devices, or they have some sort of additional need that prevents them from maybe regularly doing this content. So that's a really great resource as well for this stuff. So that's all me getting on my soapbox about Destiny's community, because I am happy to complain about it.
Because it needs to be said.
Yeah, but also that's a long way of me saying Faeror and I tried that the other day on Friday, and we spent the whole time doing the lead-up stuff. My game was being really weird, so I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it. And we started the mission, and the recommended power for it, I think, is 2005, and I was 1970 something. And Faeror was lower than that. So thanks to the new system in Destiny, I brought her power level up by, I think it was like 20 or something. So she was, I think I was 1975. So hers turned into 1970. And it was a little bit too hard for us. Enemies were hitting too hard. We weren't doing enough damage, which is fine because Final Shape's only been out for a week. So, you know, we weren't doing day one raid race. So we're not all, 2000 something like a lot of other people might be. But, we did do a bunch of that mission. And so far it's really cool because I'm not going to spoil any of it because I know about how most of it goes, but one person needs to run a light subclass and one person needs to run a dark subclass. If you're running prismatic, it just kind of figures it out. And it's a lot of like, all right, I'm going to interact with the light plates. This other person's going to interact with the dark plates. And we're going to do something that relies on the other person to do something. So it's a lot of like, this person kills a bunch of enemies and reads out a bunch of symbols that I need to find and shoot, and then that encounter will complete, and then we'll reverse roles, and we'll kind of do that a couple of times back and forth. We'll do something else, and then you have to read a bunch of information in the environment so that you and the other person can compare notes. And it's like, oh, these things are the same between the two of us. We're going to shoot those two things. That'll allow us to progress in this encounter. So it's really cool because you see that on a larger scale in things like raids and maybe a bit of a smaller scale in dungeons, but never really in an exotic or like a harder mission standpoint, because it's usually a lot of like, we're going to put a timer in here, or it's going to be incredibly difficult or something like that. It's not really this kind of teamwork, team-based thing. So it's really neat. And to kind of close the loop on the exotic class item, once you finish it the first time, that other roles of that class item will show up in any chest you can loot in the Pale Heart. So you can kind of farm for it really easily at time of recording by just going around the Pale Heart and just opening chests anywhere on that destination. So you really only, as far as we know at the time of recording, you only have to clear it once, and then you can just kind of farm it from there. You can keep doing the event or the activity, and it'll keep giving you more rolls. But it's a cool thing they've tried, and it seems like a cool activity. I'm hoping we're hoping to give it another shot this week, and kind of see if we're strong enough at this point to try it. So check in next week for the rest of that mission. But Destiny 2 still continues to be great. I'm really happy to be playing it again after last season was so long, and there was like with the Final Shape getting delayed, there was just such a content drought for a long time as they were sort of racing to finish that up. So it's nice to have this abundance of content now with the metric ton of stuff to do in the Final Shape that I've still barely scratched the surface of. And then there's this new episode that's rolling out week over week here. So Destiny 2 continues to be great. That's all I'm playing this week. Let's take a break. Oh, man.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I insert a Good Feels news story?
Which one?
The Arrowhead donation one.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a... Let me see if I can find one.
I got a link. I can just throw it in there right now for news stories.
Yeah, if you have a link.
PC Gamer.
There you go. I'll take something from PC Gamer, sure. Thank you.
Only because this turned out to be the dumbest thing we have ever done, and then it turned into a good cause.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a quick story.
Yeah. Okay. You can put that in there. Okay. Are you guys ready to wrap this guy up?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk releases for the week of June 16th, 2024. Still Wakes the Deep comes out on PS5, Series consoles, and PC. This is Game Pass day and date. This is the Chinese Room's new game. They made Amnesia, Machine for Pigs, Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, Dear Esther.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they're making the new Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2? Is that the one?
Sure.
They're making the new one of that. This is that spooky oil rig game that Microsoft's been showing off at press conferences here for a little bit. That kind of first-person exploration, spooky, scary thing. This is Game Pass day and date, which is great. If I wasn't such a chicken, I would probably check this out, but I'll let other people figure out how spooky, scary it is first. Based on the trailers, it seems pretty spooky. So I think this looks super cool, and I'm glad that Chinese Room is still making a bunch of cool stuff, because they're making kind of singular stuff here. Even though it is like a creepy walking around thing, they seem to be nailing a pretty different thing. So that's coming out this week. Other game we have, because thankfully we have seemingly a quiet week based on numbers.
We have a quiet week because of this game.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why we have a quiet week.
And this game got pushed back.
Yeah, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC. This is the one and only big expansion we're getting for Elden Ring here. Number one, be careful if you're going to go buy the base game with this expansion. It's $80, which is really expensive. Come on, Namco Bandai. But by itself, it's $40, which is still pretty expensive.
But it is, from all reports, a huge injection of gameplay and areas and stuff. So whether it's worth it to you, each person's different. But this isn't like you're getting like, oh, hey, here's an extra boss and some armor.
Yeah, it's like a 2-hour content, $40.
Yeah.
No, it does seem like it's considerably big. And if you enjoyed Elden Ring, it seems like, yeah, here we put more of it in here, and it's wilder, and go bash your head on a bunch of other bosses.
And don't forget, there are 2 bosses that you need to beat before you can even access this DLC. So if you haven't looked up what you need to do, look it up real quick.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did you guys see the Final Fantasy 14, I think it is, the MMO devs calling this out?
No.
When they announced the expansion for Final Fantasy 14, the new one, comes out in 2 weeks, they literally said, Elden Ring fans, I give you a couple of weeks.
That's great. I love those devs. They're so good.
I was going to say, and this DLC got pushed back because it was originally supposed to come out when Stellar Blade came out.
Right.
As well. And I think that was what 14's got pushed back too, because everyone was like, we're going to play Stellar Blade. You guys have another week or so.
Yep. Oh, man. All right, that's the releases for this week. Nimp put in a quick story here. There's a feel-good Helldivers story this week. Why don't you kind of give us the lowdown here, Nimp?
Yeah, so there was a major order that we had been playing where you could clear a world and get anti-tank mines, or you can clear a world and it just says, save the children of Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
And as a joke, everyone was like, well, obviously save the children.
Right.
And there, at the time, no rewards have been told that, hey, if you do this, you'll get a different reward, like it had been in the past.
It's like games done quick. Are you going to kill the animals or save the animals?
Yeah. So it started out as a joke, and then it just gained traction throughout the community of, we're just saving the children, and that got completed.
Mm-hmm.
And with, I think there was like 24 hours left that we could still claim the anti-tank mines if we wanted to, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why this is a feel-good story is because all the stupid, community art came out of Helldivers, pulling children out of wreckage and all of this stuff.
Right.
And then on June 14th, Arrowhead Studios announced that, well, since you guys wanted to save the children, I guess we have to save the children.
Mm-hmm.
And they donated, what was it, $4,311. Yep, to the Save the Children
charity organization.
Yeah, charity.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something that was announced to the community beforehand. Because, like I said, this was just a joke.
Right.
So now the internet has pictures of Arrowhead posting, like, drawings from kids in hospitals.
Oh, that's cool.
Who are drawing Helldivers saving children.
Right.
And it's a really weird, kind of emotional thing to look at.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I just wanted to point it out, because with all the bad going on, it's great that a dumb, stupid community joke actually turned into helping people.
Right.
So.
Yeah, every once in a while we get a good news story out of the video game industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was it. Helldivers, still a great game.
There you go.
And Arrowhead's still seeming like a pretty good studio, so...
Yeah. All right, well, that's our episode for this week. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to follow us, you can do so at tvgp.tv. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Don't forget to join the Discord server, discord.tvgp.tv. Like we said, it's the best community on the internet. If you're playing the Final Fantasy V Forge Out Fiesta, come hang out with us over there. Share your moments of victory and moments of loss over it, over on the Fiesta. Like Nib said too, there's still a bunch of us playing Destiny 2, so if you need us to run a bunch of stuff along with you, you're looking to group up for some cool stuff, we're playing Destiny 2 over there. And don't forget to look at the YouTube channel. Everything we record here on the public feed has a video version alongside of it. You can get that stuff over there. And don't forget to check out patreon.com/E1M1.
Ones and numbers.
You can support us financially over there. The $5 a month tier is a recommended one. If you can't support us financially, totally understand. You can best support us by, like we said, like, comment, and subscribe over on the YouTube channel. It is a meme, but that stuff really does work. And help us by rating the show wherever you listen to it, if you can. That stuff really, really helps for any podcast you love. It really helps discovery and gaming the algorithm in whatever ways you can over there. So appreciate any of that, and appreciate you all listening. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
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 Okay. Nimp, what are your titles?
I only have one true title.
Okay.
And I wrote down a lot, but this is the only one that really speaks to me.
Uh-huh.
Among the Serpentless.
I also have that one. I'll just put a check mark next to that one.
That's all I got.
All right, Moon, what do you have?
The facility, just a box. I have become death, controller of minds, says my fists, millennials, am I right? And I am a chicken.
I have just a box, among the Serpentless, something with a health bar shows up and reincarnate the cheeseburger. Which, if we didn't have the Serpentless one, I would probably fight for pretty hard, but I think I vote for the Serpentless one because it's just the dumbest.
I do.
That's fine. And I'm ready.
So am I.
All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1. This is That Video Game Podcast, episode 869 for June 17th, 2024. Among the Serpentless.
I'm agnostic. That doesn't mean I don't believe, just not your way.
Repent! Repent!
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening and watching. We greatly appreciate it. Hope we'll see you next week. Bye.